You know that feeling, when you're alone, walking past a mirror, and for some reason, you expect a pale child with no eyes to be standing behind you? Yeah. That's not biology. That's Hollywood. Thanks to decades of horror movies, jump scares, and cursed YouTube rabbit holes, your brain now carries an entire cinematic universe of creepy expectations. Empty hallway. Must be haunted. Flickering light. Definitely a ghost. Basement. Why did you even go down there? These aren't just irrational fears. They're learned patterns, your brain absorbing the logic of storytelling and applying it to real life. Because if movies have taught us anything, it's that nothing good ever happens in the dark, alone, after midnight. The science-wide term here is observational learning, where we internalize things we've seen, especially if they're emotionally intense. Your brain doesn't really distinguish between saw in real life and saw in Paranormal Activity 2 at 2 a.m. It just stores it all under reasons to never let your guard down, ever. So when you feel watched, it might not be a ghost. It might just be every horror trope you've ever seen, whispering. This is usually the part where something grabs your ankle. Pop culture, ladies and gentlemen, ruining peaceful solitude since 1896. Your brain relies on all your senses to paint a picture of reality. But when the senses don't agree, your brain kind of short-circuits. Let's say your eyes are telling you, there's nobody here. But your ears? They just heard something. A thump. A creak. A soft whisper that could be the wind, or could be Karen, the vengeful spirit of missed meetings. When your senses conflict, your brain fills in the gaps, usually with worst-case scenarios. This is called sensory integration confusion, and it basically means your brain is trying to resolve a logic puzzle while panicking. And guess what emotion wins in those situations? That's right. Fear. Fear is the brain's default mode when it doesn't understand what's going on. That's why a flickering light or a faint hum or even a weird draft can make you suddenly hyper-aware of your surroundings. Your brain's like, something's off. Something's wrong. Abandoned couch. So if you've ever bolted out of a perfectly normal room because it felt weird, congrats, you're not broken. You're just running on the same nervous system that helped cavemen survive saber-toothed tigers by screaming at shadows. A plus instincts, slightly inconvenient lifestyle. You know what makes everything worse? Night. At night, your brain's reality filter gets lazy. Your senses are dulled, your surroundings are harder to interpret, and your thoughts get weird. This is when your brain, already a paranoid little gremlin, decides to crank the what-if dial to 11. What if someone's under the bed? What if that knock wasn't the wind? What if your reflection just moved slightly wrong? There's even research on this. Studies show that anxiety spikes at night, especially when you're alone and trying to sleep. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logic and chill, goes offline a bit. Meanwhile, your limbic system, the emotional panic center, throws a rager. It's a full-on anxiety party in your skull, and no one invited common sense. This is why you feel like someone's watching you while you're lying in bed, even though your dog is the only witness and he's asleep, face first in a pile of laundry. Nighttime brain is not your friend. It is a chaos goblin with access to your entire mental archive of regrets and ghost stories. Okay, here's where it gets really weird. Some people, especially in extreme isolation or sensory deprivation, report feeling a presence nearby. Not just a vague, watched sensation, but like there's someone right behind them. Breathing. Watching. Judging their snack choices. This is known as the feeling of presence phenomenon, and it's been studied in mountaineers, sailors, astronauts, and even people who've experienced trauma. The theory is that when your sensory systems are overstressed or deprived, your brain may project parts of your own body schema. Basically, it accidentally creates a second you that feels like a separate person. Think of it like your brain glitching and spawning a backup character in your personal space. Some researchers think it's a defense mechanism, a hallucinated companion to help you cope with stress or loneliness. Others think it's just your body's way of interpreting strange proprioceptive signals. Like if your brain can't locate your limbs properly, it decides, probably another human nearby. Better feel anxious about it. Either way, it's creepy. And fascinating. And definitely not the kind of thing you want to learn about right before bed. You're welcome. Let's get meta for a second. Humans are story machines. Your brain is wired to take random stuff, sights, sounds, sensations, and jam it into a narrative. Even if that narrative is utterly insane. Like, I heard a creak, therefore I am not alone, therefore it's probably a vengeful spirit who hates my haircut. This tendency is called narrative bias, and it's one of the most hilariously unhelpful survival tools we've evolved. In the absence of real information, your brain gets itchy. It needs a story. And unfortunately, your inner narrator has seen way too many movies, has a flair for drama, and probably writes fan fiction about haunted air conditioners. So when you're alone, and your senses give you nothing, your brain fills in the blanks with logical horror logic. Well, I feel weird. I heard something. My brain is unsettled. Must be ghosts. No, it must not. But try telling that to the over-caffeinated screenplay writer living in your frontal lobe. Basically, when your brain lacks closure, it builds horror plots just to cope. It's not broken. It's just deeply committed to the bit. This might surprise you, but part of the reason you feel watched when you're alone is because your brain, ironically, thinks the universe is really into you. Not in a narcissistic, everyone loves me way, more like a built-in self-referential bias. Your brain assumes things are about you even when they're not. You hear laughter outside? Must be about you. A door creaks. It's creaking at you. The fridge hums. Clearly it has opinions. This is great for survival, it kept your ancestors alert to gossip, threats, and tribal drama. But now, it just means you get anxious because a parked car looked at you funny. You're not delusional. You're just working with ancient software that treats every noise and shadow like a personal attack. Your brain assumes the world is watching, judging, and occasionally plotting. Just in case. It's kind of flattering, really. Your brain thinks you're the main character. Too bad it cast anxiety as your co-star. Let's end on a comforting note, the sensation of being watched when you're alone. It's not a glitch. It's a feature. Everything we've covered, paranoia, face detecting, imaginary eyes, midnight dread, narrative panic, all of it comes from your brain's ultimate mission, keep you alive. Even in modern life, where the biggest threats are expired milk and awkward Zoom calls, your nervous system is still running caveman code. It's trying to detect predators, social threats, and danger, even when there's nothing to find. You evolved to be hyper-aware, hyper-vigilant, and just a little bit dramatic. So yes, the reason you feel watched in an empty room isn't that you're broken. It's because your brain, your gut, your entire evolutionary operating system is trying to protect you, by convincing you you're in a mildly haunted episode of your own life. Honestly? Iconic behavior. And that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more content like this. Got thoughts or questions? Drop them in the comments, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.